Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very latest CADS podcast. We're here tonight to talk about the Manchester City game. It was not the 5-0 blowout that I predicted at the end of the last video, but there are positives. There are also some negatives to talk about, and I've brought together two lovely gentlemen to discuss it with me and probably educate me in the ways of football and sport overall. And let's get started. Austin, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Hi,
There you
John.
go.
Hi, nice to you.
Hey, John, how you doing?
I'm fine. I hope everybody else is fine.
Excellent. Okay. And we obviously need to say hello to John's brother, who apparently is our viewer for this evening. He will definitely be watching this video, I'm told. So hello, John's brother.
Hello,
Okay,
John's
so
brother.
hello, John's brother. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to give him a shout out, John, before we get into it?
Hi, Mike.
There you go, Mike. Thank you for
Actually,
listening.
to be honest,
Hello. Just dipped out. Got to be honest, and then he went quiet. Oh dear.
I wouldn't be a Spurs fan. So
Without your brother,
he's
you
got
wouldn't be a
lots to
Spurs
answer
fan.
for.
It's entirely his fault.
Well, see, what it is, because what it was, my dad used to support any of the London teams that were doing well at that given time. So in actual fact, and when I sort of started getting into football, it was Chelsea. But my brother was like Spurs from the double years and stuff like that. Consequently, he was the first one. He took me to football. My dad never went to football, and it was on the back of that. That's why I decided to become a Spurs fan.
That's
And
kind of why my
brother was-
brother became an Arsenal fan. I was a Tottenham fan. He wanted to find another way to annoy me, so he decided he'd be an Arsenal fan just to wind up. And he admitted many, many years later on that he didn't really have much of an interest in football. He just wanted to find a way of winding me up even more. So yeah, hello, John, in case you're listening. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about the football. Are we going to call it a 1-0 result to Manchester City, or should we be fair and say really it was a 2-0 result? I mean, there was absolutely no reason why their late goal was chalked off, really, was there? Go back 5 years. Anybody think that goal would have been ruled out?
Well, no, he wouldn't have done because they wouldn't have had the technology to have done it. Uh, have I seen worse goals chalked out? Yes, I have. Look, look, personally, it probably should have been a goal. At the end of the day, it actually didn't have any effect on anything. I mean,
Yeah.
would have if Saar had equalised, then it would have been done, but it didn't, and so in the end of it all, it didn't really matter, And there's been worse. This season has been worse things than that, in my opinion.
Can you imagine
But
if you'd been,
again, it just shows you how.
yeah, how long it takes? Can you just imagine if you'd been at the game watching it and you'd been delayed leaving by 10 minutes because of VAR and you missed your last train because of that? How annoyed would you be? Oh, dearie me. But yeah, apart from let's give them the one goal that they did get. Apart from their goal, obviously the one they did score, they did have some chances. They were
Yeah,
dangerous at times. Their wing play, I thought, was particularly dangerous. Uh, you know,
their left wing play, not necessarily the right wing play, because I thought he was average.
Savinho, that's the right guy, the right-sided guy. I thought he was very good. He was dangerous, but yeah, the left wing play. Every time he got on the ball, I was like, yeah, this is not good, and not because he was up against Porro. He would have been dangerous against pretty much anybody. I think he was just in that kind of mood last night. So I was like, this is a tough one. I wasn't surprised we lost the game. We lost exactly the same game last season. And this is a club that spent a lot of money building a very, very expensive squad. And we're still building our squad and we've still got players coming back from injury. I'm I don't know whether to be unhappy about the squad selection or not, though. What are your thoughts?
I can see the unhappiness about the squad selection or
I,
about the team
I, I
selection.
Go and you go, Austin.
Okay, thanks. But I listened to Ange afterwards, and he said, "Look, he said I was complaining about not having a squad. I've now got a squad. If I don't use it, then
Mm,
my complaints are invalid." And I think he needed to give Odebear some time. I think he needed to give Johnson some time. I think he needed to get people playing to build them up because the most important game we've got now is next Thursday.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
so I think he needs to have players who've actually got some game time under their belt in the team. And Decky deserves a rest. Only deserves a rest. And I think we've now got a couple of extra players that have got a full match under their belt who are more ready for next Thursday, because that is our pivotal game this season.
Yep, John, what were your thoughts?
I'm not. Look, in the grand scheme of things, the result really does. We're stuck in that. We're in a position now where we're in this little mini table between us, Man United, West Ham, and maybe Everton. And there's quite a gap now between us and Brentford, who are above us. And we're not going to really move too much now, I think, between now and the end of the season. And clearly, the Europa League is the most important thing. But on the back of our 3 wins in the league, and also our record against Man City, I thought we would give them a better game. I'm not saying that wasn't. You can't compare this game to the game last season, when really most people there wanted City to win. But I was disappointed by the performance, particularly in the first half. I mean, we were awful, and they really should have been could have been 4 or 5 goals up. In truth, we were spirited in the second half. We had our better players on in the end, but actually, ultimately, Ederson, he had 2 saves to make, but they weren't particularly brilliant saves.
I thought the save against Sonny late on. I thought that was a very important save. I think that was a save that he had to make, and he did very well to make it. He had to read what was going to happen, and Sonny normally scores that kind of goal. He just pops in, and his finishing is normally excellent in that kind of position. I was thinking about it today. Should he have lifted it? Should he have put a bit more behind it? But for me, it was just do what he did, and normally that would go in. Austin, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I thought it was an excellent save. It was much the same as Vicario's save against United last week, where Vicario dived to his right, Ederson dived to his left.
Yeah. In terms of
very good save.
Oh, we lost John. He had been cutting out a bit, so it was not a major surprise. Okay, in terms of
driver, you know how unreliable they are.
Well, not in Paris, but still. Okay. In terms of the performance, I think John was right. First half was lacking, and Manchester City had much the better of it. Second half, John's coming back. He's coming. Second half, I thought played. You're back. Excellent. I thought we played much better in the second half. I thought Odegaard came more into the game, and we saw more from him. But he was really struggling up against their new centre-back whenever he got shut down quite a lot. So obviously that guy's got some talent as well. But I was really impressed and infused by seeing what Odegaard could do. And it was good to see him getting on the pitch and showing us his actual skills and ability. And I think that's probably the most minutes he's played for Tottenham in one game. I can't remember him playing more. He's always been like last 5, 10, 15 minutes player before that.
Yeah, he's only played a couple of games.
You're talking about
I've lost, hasn't he?
Odegaard, Wilson Odegaard. I think he played more minutes in yesterday's game than he had in any previous game this season. Not 100% sure, but I don't think he started any games before.
I can't disagree with anything that John said in the last 30 or 40 seconds.
Not a word. Everything he said has been spot on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I was also very happy with certain other performances. I thought Pedro Porro looked dangerous at times, and also had to struggle with a very difficult opponent. You know how I feel about Lucas. I'm just a big fan of Lucas and Archie. I think they're amazing young players, and they both showed themselves well.
The way that Lucas drifts past players is absolutely delightful. He reminds me, it's before your time, but Germany beat England 3-1 in the early 70s, and they had a...
I wasn't even born in the early 70s.
I'm sorry, it's not my fault.
Not my fault. My parents got to it late, yeah.
But I can't remember the name of the player. John will probably remember. Actually, John might be a bit young to remember it, but they had a player that played sort of a libero, and he actually dominated England. And he drifted past players and played balls out to the right and left. And that's the sort of player that I think Lucas is. He's such a talent, and he makes it look easy. He just goes, and people look for him and they can't get close to him.
Yeah,
And
I watch him.
Archie's the same.
I watch Lucas, and I just think Gaza. I just sit that chest out, up right running, and legs pumping. He's got that kind of ability on the ball. He's really, really good. I mean, obviously, to reach Gaza's level, he's got some way to go because he was just outstanding.
But Lucas has got a brain. Gaza didn't.
Well, poor Gaza. Lucas definitely has a brain, and also
don't get me wrong, I love
maturity and leadership qualities.
Yeah.
Because he's been captain of his youth levels in Norway, Sweden, and just being a leader throughout. And his coaches have talked about his level of maturity. And honestly, I don't know who's going to be Tottenham captain. Is it going to be Archie Gray or is it going to be Lucas in the future? Because both of them have qualities that you could point at and go, yeah, that would be a decent appointment.
One word, Danso.
Danso.
He's a unit.
He's a unit. He's fast, and he seems to read the play quite well as well.
Yeah.
And also a danger in the air to the opposition. We had 2 headers on target from corners. Very nice to see, because we don't. Well, also Bentancur as well. It showed up nicely in corners.
Yeah.
But I think Danso's looked the more dangerous. But no, I was very, very happy with him. Again, he's come in and just slotted in so nicely. Whereas players coming from abroad often take a little bit of time to adjust. He's just come in and boom, it's straight up to speed.
I actually think he's better than Romero. The balance of his play, his decision making is absolutely first rate.
Yeah.
And
he runs with the ball. He travels with the ball well as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his passing's good.
His passing is not as good as Romero's. I mean, Romero's passing is pretty damn fine for a centre back. But in terms of his overall ability, I mean, I am not going to be the first one to say it. I will not claim it. But, as many people have said, the greatest ability is availability. And let's be honest, Romero falls down on that. He's missed something like 42% of games during his Spurs career. That's really bad.
Only he's back just before an international break, as Matt Pieri pointed out.
He probably will, and probably get called up and have to go. But yes, can we really stop him? I mean, that's the thing. Could you turn around and say, no, we'd like you to stick around and have spend some more time with us and make sure you're absolutely fully fit and running in the right way?
I think we should sell him to Real Madrid in the summer, make a lot of money out of him because he's a talented player. There is no doubting that. And buy someone else at centre back.
I'll be honest. I think this is the only summer we're likely to get any money for him.
Yeah,
because Real Madrid don't generally tend to spend big on centre backs, but they need a centre back. I mean, the Brazilian guy, I think he's Brazilian. I mean, he just did all of the ligaments in his knee earlier in the season, and that will take him some time to get back from. And they've been short a decent centre back for a while. So maybe they'll be willing to put their hand in the pocket, but generally they love to pick up guys like this who are coming towards the end of their contracts. He's only got 2 years left on his contract after this one, to just sit back and wait for him to come out of contract and pick him up on a freebie then. Frankly, if he doesn't sign a new contract, I think we absolutely have to sell him. I don't see how we can keep him if he's not going to be prepared to sign a new contract.
No, absolutely. Totally agree.
So it would be a not great day when we sell him. I don't think it would be a sad day. I think I'd be more upset if Mickey van der Ven left. Because I think Romero is somewhat replaceable, but I don't think Mickey van der Ven, in the way that Ange wants to play football, I don't think Mickey van der Ven can be replaced that easily.
No, I totally agree. But the bottom line is, let's stick to the positives rather than negatives. I think Danso is tailor-made for Spurs.
Yeah.
He seems to have fitted in. He seems to get in really well with the other guys in the team, and his decision making seems to be first rate. And he seems to be a goal threat as well.
And I had to say, it was a big smile on my face whenever any of our centre forwards just like dropped a shoulder, made Haaland go that way, and they went that way. I thought that was brilliant. And they just, take it another 10, 15 yards up the pitch under no pressure whatsoever because they've just dipped him. It was fantastic to watch. But I mean, Danso did that. Gray did that. Udogie as
Gray
well.
is brilliant. We've got to mention Gray. We've talked about your illegitimate son,
my boy. Yeah.
But Archie Gray, he plays the percentage game, and he makes interceptions. He wins headers. He cuts the ball out, and he just plays the simple passes well. He plays the long passes well. He hit a couple of bad passes yesterday, in fairness.
Yeah.
But that's the first time I've seen him hit bad passes. He is so comfortable on the ball.
He makes smart decisions.
Yeah. And you're too young, but his great uncle and his grandfather.
Yeah, I'm too young. Yeah, go on.
Were fabulous players. And he's got that skill level. He really has. They were Leeds heroes in the time when Leeds were the best team in the land.
Yeah.
And he has got that skill level, greater than his father. His father was average, but he's just brilliant.
So apparently he's got a brother, Harry, who's in the Leeds youth, who's like 2 years younger. He's 16 or something. And apparently Archie says he is better than Archie is. I mean,
I want him now.
If he is that good, can we sign him? Because we need another
Absolutely.
Harry at Spurs. Because my second son's called Harry, and I need to be able to point to him and say, "That's who you share a name with, my boy." So, absolutely, that'd be great fun. But yeah, I mean, how many Graves can we get into the team? Are there any others coming through as well? We've got any 14-year-olds that we could be taking a look at? That sounds rather wrong. Let's move on. Okay,
51 Shades of Grey.
51 Shades of Grey. Maybe we can only sign players who've got Grey in their name. that would be difficult. Okay, so let's talk about the players who didn't start the game. Sonny, I think Sonny benefited from a rest in the previous game leading up to the Ipswich game. I think he is someone who is going to need to be rested fairly regularly to make sure that he's up to top level. Same thing with Maddison. Genuinely, I think Maddison. They both need their minutes managing.
Can I disagree with you, Stu?
Yes, of course.
They were tired because they were playing a game every 3 or 4 days, and now they're not going to be playing games every 3 or 4 days. So I think they don't need the same opportunity to rest that they did sort of 3 weeks ago.
Well, our next 2 league games, we've actually got significantly less rest time than the opposition. So that's not going to be particularly easy. I think we've got something like 5 days less rest time than our opposition will. Because we've got European matches. But I think it's just a case of we need to give certain players like Sonny, like Maddison, the chance to have a rest. Decky as well. Decky's however much running he does, it's not at the same intensity as we were seeing at the start of the season. He was brilliant at the start of the season, and he's still fantastic. He's still a great player, but he's not up to the same level of where he was. Yeah.
Oh, that's a fair comment.
Yeah. John's back. How you doing, John?
I am back. My computer, I had to switch it off and switch it back on.
Yeah, it's been cutting out on and off a little bit, but hopefully we'll get a bit more of a stable connection this time. John, I think you missed our discussion on the young lads, but how did you feel the young boys did in this game?
Well, the front three, they were novices, and you could see they were novices. I mean, I wouldn't be critical of Tao or Towworth, but he's got to get used to the rigors of the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
And so really it was more or less like a passenger yesterday. Alderweireld, as the game got on, I think he got better. And as far as Johnson's concerned, I mean, I just find it very frustrating because I've seen him, how I observe him, I see a player that clearly has ability and he can put the ball in the net. But too often I find it's like his brain is slower than the action that's going on in front of him. And so he's always reacting slowly to what needs to be done. So to me, he did absolutely nothing yesterday.
I disagree with you on that, John. I thought he put in a few defensive tackles, but he had 2 runs in the second half that could have brought us goals. He put a cross in for Son that brought the save.
That's what I was going to say.
And he also put a cross in, which would have gone to Maddison, but Decky intercepted it and lost the ball. If it had gone to Maddison, we'd have scored a goal, because Maddison was standing there with his arms outstretched, saying, "Why did you interfere with it?" And they were both him. And the fact that he scores goals the way he does, no one else scores goals as naturally as Johnson. So I grew up with Jimmy Greaves. People used to say all he did was score goals. Yeah, fine.
We'll take it. Yeah, all he does is score match-winning goals.
Johnson puts the ball in the net really comfortably. But yesterday he had 2 runs where he beat players and he created chances. And I think he's just starting to get his confidence back. I'm not going to criticise Johnson. He fits into the category for me of people like Genus, who I loved, who, whenever we had a bad game, it was always Genus's fault. And I get the feeling that the fan base is down on Johnson the same as they were on Genus.
Well, they are. I mean, look, I don't think, maybe you see things differently if you're watching it on the TV, but
yeah, John, you're at the game, so you see more than I do. So yeah. I'm not going to argue with you.
I know. I don't know. Argue.
Oh no! You're just about to get started.
I find him very frustrating because.
Okay, we're hearing you. Go. You find him very frustrating. Yeah. Go on.
No, I find it frustrating with him because I just think he doesn't keep up with the play. He's to me he's behind the play. Look, all right. I take your point, Austin, that he got a couple of good crosses in, but really, I'll be expecting a bit more from him in any given match. And just collectively, I thought that the starting 11, and certainly the ones up front, were just too weak for a Premier League match. And obviously, although we started to push them a little bit at the start of the second half, but we really started to test them once the big guns came on. Having said that, to be honest, in the final 10 minutes of the game, City coasted the game. Really, they shut us out. We other than that chance really for Sarr at the very end, I can't really think of too much else we did in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. But I thought we were the better side in the second half, just for me.
No.
I mean, more than that. As I said, I didn't really expect us to win this game, but I think the thing that I come away with is just there's a sense of just so much promise in this side with the young players that are there, and even the older players like Danso. Danso's 26. Vicario's 27 or 28. We played the second youngest side we have ever played in the Premier League last night.
Yeah,
I mean that just shows how far we've had to skew our side, because a while ago we were playing an older side, a significantly older side, and we've had to make that change, and we've done it in a fairly quick period of time, and maybe that's kind of accounts for why we've had the struggles we've had this year, that and the injuries. We've just gone from older players to significantly younger players, and the players that we were expecting to be the senior players have been out injured.
Yeah, well, and in a way, the younger players have been thrust into the situation quicker than I'm sure Nanan's really wanted to do. But the upshot of that is, in particular, for Gray and Bergevall, that they've been very good. I don't know actually if you saw, there was I think it was in the Athletic, they were saying that that all these stats they've got, but they were saying that statistically, Gray is the worst centre back in the Premier League this season.
Really?
Apparently, yes. That's not how I see it.
There
That's
was a
not, I mean,
website. There was a website that was stating the worst player for every one worst player from every club, and Gray was the player that they said was our worst player. Frankly, if that's what they think, okay, right, but I don't expect you to keep your readership very long if that's the kind of football insight you're coming out with.
Yeah, I'd like 10 more players like that.
no,
Yeah,
I definitely don't. I don't know what what it was that they're testing him on, but whatever it was, he came bottom of all the centre backs in the Premier League. But from my point of view, I think he's been, he to me hasn't really let us down at all, and he's been a plus. And I'm keeping saying, and we all say, we can't wait for him to eventually play in the midfield, which I think he'll excel at.
yeah.
And that's meant to be his real position, isn't it? Obviously.
I see him as our number 6.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I look at him and I see a number 8. I mean, he's got that ability to turn with the ball and go past people. He could do everything. I mean, he can play 6, he can play 4, he can play 8, he can, wherever he wants to play, that boy can play. He's just that good. I think he'd be all right in goal as well. He's decent. Got
Hang
decent
on.
long arms, hasn't he?
We said that about Harry, and look what Harry did when he played in goal.
Yes, okay. I don't remember saying that myself, but still.
No, I remember him going in goal against Hearts, and he.
Yes, yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
Scored a hat trick in that game, didn't it? Scored a hat trick, went in goal, and then conceded at least one, if not 2. Yeah,
No, 1. It was a sitter,
one.
though.
It was a fumble. Yes, absolutely. Okay, can we quickly talk about Matis Tell? I think a lot of people are going to be getting on his back, but you've got to remember this is a 19-year-old guy who's only just joined the club in the league. He's not played a huge amount of football this season. He didn't play a huge amount of football last season because of a certain Harry Kane who took the lead striking position at Bayern Munich. I like what I see from him. There was a stat early on that said he's had the lowest number of touches on the pitch. He had about 4 touches in the first 20 minutes. But after that, he then went on a run where he touched ball about 6, 7 times, and he must have shot up that ranking fairly quickly. He got better. I wasn't surprised to see his number come up and for him to come off because I don't think he's ready yet to play the full 90 minutes physically. But I was kind of surprised in the way that we played afterwards because we brought on Kulusevski, and it looked like Kulusevski was going to be playing up front. And then we brought on Pat Matasar, and then Pat Matasar at times was ahead of Kulusevski, but then sometimes is behind. It's like they were switching between the two. And we did that at the end of last season where there seemed to be like some idea of who was going to be making those runs. There didn't seem to be much idea this time at all.
As Shania Twain sung in her song about how he doesn't impress me much at this moment in time. That's not to say. I've given up on him, right? Because as you quite rightly say, he's a youngster. He's not just he's also coming to grips with a much more physical league to what he's used to and stuff. And so the way I look at it, like Bergevall was at the start of
I was going to say,
season, he looked pretty weak, and so it's going to take time with him. But we are missing that physical presence of Solanke, and even Richarlison would be doing a better job than Tal at the moment. But I haven't given up on him, and I wouldn't get on his back. I understand the situation, but at the moment he's not our answer, unfortunately.
At Bayern, he wasn't the centre forward. He was someone that played slightly wider and came in.
Yeah.
So he's actually playing in the wrong place, and I actually feel for him. But if I could see him alongside Solanke, let's say Son, who I'd like to see only playing about 50% of the time, wasn't there. I think Tell could be the ideal player to come in from the wing to come alongside Solanke up front.
The issue we're going to have next year, though, going into next year, if he decides to sign for us, there's still no guarantee that even if we say we want you to sign for us next year, next season, that he would actually put pen to paper and actually sign on the dotted line and become a Tottenham Hotspur player long term. But if he does, you've got Solanke cost 65 million, Tell 55 million, and how much was Richarlison? 60 as well. You can't have three forwards, all costing more than 50 million pounds.
I'd sell Richarlison tomorrow. I'd send him out to Saudi Arabia or whoever would buy him.
Yeah, if somebody wants him, they can have him.
Spend too much time in the sickness bay.
Yeah, funny enough, Everton fans they loved Richarlison, and he always gave his all.
Yeah,
and and I think it's just been very frustrating with the injuries. But if there was an offer for him and we could get a sizable amount of that money back, then I would get shot of him. At the same time, with Tau, I mean, look, if we don't if he doesn't want to sign for the club, because it could be that he doesn't particularly want to sign for the club in the summer or whatever, I wouldn't be particularly bothered about that either. I think there are better players out there than him.
I would be very much interested in looking at Liam Delap when he becomes available.
But unfortunately, I think there'll be a lot of clubs after him, and you're either going to have to pay the money, and also, if we end up being mid-table, which it looks like we're going to be, and we don't win the Europa League.
Heresy! Carl, we're not having that kind of talking here.
No, I feel. Very much that we can win it, but I'm just saying if we don't win it, because it's not a gimme that we're going to win it. Then next season it's going to be, if you want to get those bigger players, I think it's going to be very difficult when you're just a mid-table club, aren't you?
Ange said earlier on in this season, people were saying, "Oh, you need to get Champions League so you can get the best players next year," and he went, "Well, was Mickey van der Ven coming to us when we were a Champions League club? No, we weren't." So at the end of the day, it's about being able to identify and attract the right players at the right time. And if we can find more players like Mickey van der Ven, more players like Danso, more players like Archie Gray or Lucas Boval, more power to the recruitment team's elbow, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But but let's look at it. If you look at when Chelsea started up under Abramovich, they weren't buying a Van der Ven really, were they? They bought a Drogba. They spent that good money and they're buying a proven product sort of thing. And if you really want to truly challenge, then unless you're very, very lucky, you can only do it if you have a sprinkle of some of these really top-notch players that are ready to hit the ground running. That's why.
Can I just say, John, when Abramovich took over Chelsea, he had the Tinkerman as manager. He'd taken them from third to second. He sacked him and brought in Mourinho, and they got first. But they were in second place in the Premiership when Abramovich took over. So people were coming to a club that was already successful.
But what I'm saying is that it was obviously his money and the players that he went out and got. It's at a different level to us. And if you look at Man City, it's the same sort of thing. If you really want to compete, look, we competed with Pochettino, but it wasn't. We didn't sustain it.
Yeah.
And the problem is, if you really want to become a true, challenging all the big teams, then look, even Liverpool are actually, in some respects, a club similar to us in the way financially that they run. Unless they've got the money. And what they did is when they sold Suarez and Coutinho, they spent the money, but they spent it. They brought two. They brought the goalkeeper and they brought what's his name?
Alisson and Van Dijk.
Van Dijk, yeah. They spent that money. We haven't really done that, have we? And unfortunately, the players that we have spent some decent money on have it tends to be the bigger the money we generally spend, it seems the worse the bloody player. I mean, on Ndombele and Lascelles, so
Yeah,
yeah.
Davinson Sanchez. Yeah, I mean it always seems to be the bigger money. Maybe it's just confirmation bias or something in my head, but it always seems to be the bigger ticket players that end up letting us down. Obviously not Solanke. Solanke's brilliant. He's doing great. But even if you go back to the 90s, like Rebrov was a big money buy for us, and he was so bad. He was so poor at times. I think,
Yeah, but
to be fair to
we signed
Rebrov,
we got rid of Waddle at the same. No, not Waddle.
no, not right. Sheringham.
Ginola, yes. And Ginola would have been fabulous with Rebrov, but we got rid of him.
I think the problem with Rebrov was there just weren't enough players on his level. So it's going off on a massively wild tangent. We need to probably bring in other people who know more about that period of football than I do. But I remember watching games then, I think, when Stephen Carr played, Rebrov played well. But the time that Rebrov was at the club, Stephen Carr was constantly injured. So it's like it just didn't work. But nobody else seemed to be on his level. Nobody seemed to be on the same wavelength as him, and it just didn't work for him. But then, we spoke in Ndombele. He was just a nightmare. Davinson Sanchez, how much money did we lose on him? I can understand why big money signings would scare, particularly the chairman, because it hasn't always worked out. But I think with the data-led recruitment, I think they're hoping there's less chance of there being that kind of error.
When you think about it now, we've signed Archie Gray, we've signed Bergvall, we've signed Odebear.
Yeah.
We seem to be pitching for people that are yet to hit the big time and getting them at a relatively decent price, although Archie Gray was quite expensive.
Yeah, well, that fits into the Levy haters. They're saying that's what he wants to do. He'll buy him young with a hope that they've got a sell-on fee at the end of it all, and to an extent that is true. I mean,
but I don't understand that. Why would you buy a player to hope to make a loss on him? I mean, every player you buy, you bring into the club, you want to see them get better and become worth more money, don't you?
No. Yeah, but if you buy a younger player, there's a lot more growth potential in what they can do. And what I was trying to say is that if you look at Chelsea, even Arsenal spent £105 million or something on Rice, but they can only buy maybe one really big player a season or every 2 seasons, something like that. Chelsea could have done, could buy 2 or 3, and if it didn't work out, like they spent all that money on Shevchenko, and it was a flop, they could swallow that. Whereas clubs like Tottenham can't. It hurts us in the pocket badly.
But this is where the new financial stuff actually works in our favour. We've got so many clubs like Arsenal, like Chelsea, who are so close to the limit they've spent as much money as they can, and they need to get rid of players before they can bring new guys in. I mean, the only way that Arsenal could really spend any big money is to sell a homegrown player like Saka, or someone like that, and they're not going to sell Saka. So Spurs should be one of the very few clubs with some real spending power this summer. Our problem is, a bit of a cash flow problem. We don't have a lot of spendable money.
Just amusing aside, talking about Saka, there was an article I saw yesterday, I think, or maybe the day before, about, is it Velkovic, the young lad that's
Vuskovic.
Scored more goals than him, yeah.
He scored more goals than Saka, yes. And he's a centre-half.
And he's 17. But he is playing in Belgium, so you've got to kind of...
But he's playing, exactly. Yeah, but exactly. He's playing in Belgium.
He's playing in Belgium, which is, it is a lower league, but it's a better level than he's ever played before. But he's also being surrounded by players who are of a lower level than he will be surrounded by when he comes to Tottenham. Hopefully, he can continue to up his game. I'm really looking forward to seeing that kid. And again, this kind of, hence the bright and colourful background tonight. I'm feeling full of joy and enthusiasm for what's coming in the future. because we've got so many young players that are going to be continuing to grow and continuing to improve. I just hope we don't do what could happen, which is someone comes in with a big offer for Vuskovic this summer and we sell him before he even gets a chance to put on a Spurs shirt. That would be horrible.
I don't think we will.
I
think more the problem will be is if somebody tries to come in and for Gray or something like that, you know.
Well, Gray's got what, a 5-6 year contract. They're going to have to offer a lot of money to get Gray. I think you weren't here when we were talking about it, but Romero, I think, will probably go this summer. No, John, you still with us, John?
I am, but you cutting in and out.
Okay, I was just saying we think that Romero will probably go this summer.
Yeah, I think that's likely. And to be honest, I'll be quite happy for that to happen. In truth, I mean, you know, we're coming up to the international break in the next couple of weeks or so, and I bet your bottom dollar he will be fit and raring to go and fly out to Argentina. You know, I mean, I
made that point earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish the club said no, you can't go. We want to make sure that you're fit before you can start, you know, going out halfway across the world, etc., etc. But anyway, I've to me, you know, he's almost history in my mind, really. You know,
which is sad because he's such a good player when he's fit. But I think I was saying to Austin earlier, he's missed something like 42% of Spurs games since he joined the club.
Yeah,
which you just can't put up with a player like that in terms, just can't carry a player. But I mean, if when he goes, you know, we've got people like Phillips who's been out on loan all year and doing extremely well at Stoke. We've got Vuskovic who's going to be coming into the club, who's supposed to be a bit of a phenomenon. Danso is already here, and then we'll have Mickey van der Ven. I still think we're going to need another centre half because Ben Davies doesn't look like he's going to be signing a new contract, and unless we're going to be persisting with playing Archie Gray at the back, we're going to need a little bit more cover.
Well, we've got Austin's friend, Dorrington. I mean,
Alfie Dorrington, who can't even get in the Aberdeen side at the moment to start. But yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Have I missed anyone in terms of our young, bright future? Have I missed anyone?
I think Donnelly we've got to mention because Donnelly scored 2 belting goals in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Well, now one wasn't his goal; it was credited as an own goal.
It was his goal. Not having that. It was his goal. Yeah.
And then the next goal he scored, the volley from the edge of the box, was an absolutely blinder. He's got a lovely left peg, and I've been watching now for 2 years, and he is the player in the youth that I've said is going to come through. And
well, more than Mikey Moore.
Sorry.
More than Mikey Moore.
Mikey Moore didn't play much for the under 21s.
Yes, I think more than Mikey Moore. I think Mikey Moore has got exciting potential and he could be blinding, but he might also not quite make it to the blinding stage. Whereas Jamie Donnelly, I think, is a good, very good, workmanlike, very talented player that works hard. And I think he's got more chance. I think if you said to me, Mikey Moore's got a 50% chance of coming through, I think Jamie Donnelly's got a 70% chance of coming through. But if you then say which one could be better and better to watch, I'd say Mikey Moore. But there's less chance of him achieving Gaza status, which I think is where he's looking at, than Jamie Donnelly, who I think he's looking at Teddy Sheringham status. Just giving...
I've got a friend who's a big Orient fan. Yeah. In fact, I've actually been to Orient about 4 or 5 times over the last couple of years, and but he tells me that Donnelly's like a class apart from the rest of the players that they've got and stuff like that. You know.
So I don't know if you've watched any of the highlights of Leyton Orient this season, but some of his passing is just sublime. I mean, he sees passes that other players can't. And he's putting it into positions for, you know, putting the ball through for people to run onto. I I think it was last year I said it. I was watching an interview with an ex-pro, and he said the hardest thing to do is to play a through ball because you've got to think ahead in time and think, I'm going to play this ball at this pace, which is going to go to there to intersect with that player who's going to be running to there. And he said it's a really, really difficult thing to do. But Donnelly just seems really, really good at through balls.
I'm going to say something now which I may regret later, but I've been to see Barcelona twice in the last 12, 13 years.
I'm starting to think you may regret this because it may. Okay, carry on.
Well, first of all, Lionel Messi is a left-footed player.
Yeah.
But each time I've seen Barcelona, I've been sitting up in the gods. So you're looking down on the game and you can't identify players very easily. But Messi played balls instantly and he thought, when I've watched the under-19s, he doesn't look up. He plays the ball and he knows where someone's going to be, and it's good. Yeah. And I'm not comparing. I'm not doing a Marcus Edwards.
Please don't do that to him.
He's got that skill to pick a pass and play it without looking, and it always goes through to where it's supposed to go. Mm-hmm. I really rate Donnelly. I think he's fabulous.
I mean, look, I think the likely scenario now is going to be he will go on loan again next season, and he will probably go to a championship club. Probably that's. But also, you mustn't forget. Do you remember Alex Pritchard, who was the player of the season in the championship, and we had all these high hopes for him, and he started the following season with us, and I can't remember if he got injured or whatever, and he never got a look in after that. And now where's he playing? And that happens a lot. I mean, look at Marcus Edwards. Pochettino said did liken him to Messi, and I mean he's playing for Burnley now. So,
he is.
The thing is, there are a lot. It's very much down to the individual. It's got to be whether they've got something in them that will take them to the highest level. So you can give all the praise to these players, but there's still a long way from where they are at the moment to when they're gonna if they can actually make it in the big time. Or even look at Kane. I mean, the funny thing, he was the complete opposite. He actually didn't show any of this really when he was on loan to the various different clubs. And you speak to most people who coached him, they said they would never have believed he would have had the career that he's ended up having. So you can never tell, can you? We're going full circle here. So I talk about Tell. He might well be that player. But at the moment, he's not. To me, he's not showing it. But anyway, there you go.
He needs 6 months in the league, like Lucas Bergvall needed 6 months in the league.
I agree.
If we see the same kind of improvement that Lucas had, then we'll have a hell of a player on our hands if he's still a Tottenham player, which is my area of concern. But yeah. Okay, so Mikey and Moore, we've talked about Bear, Donnelly, of course. And of course, they've got a goalkeeper from us as well. Is it Kerr they've got at the moment? But Leyton Orient still with an outside chance of qualifying through the playoffs for the championship. So hopefully they'll get up, and both of those players can stay on loan for another season there and get some playing time in the championship as well. But yeah,
it was unfortunate that the other night they played Birmingham away, and I think they had a player sent off Orient after about 12 minutes. Yeah. So it was up against it. They held out until the second half, but then it's a shame. And they've lost against Birmingham and lost against Bolton as well. So I mean, they've still obviously got a chance, but it's going to make it harder for them
Yeah.
now.
So what was I going? I had something on the tip of my tongue I was going to say, but never mind. Yeah, I'm enthusiastic. I think we've got a lovely core of young players coming through. I think we've got some more experienced pros as well, and I think Danso adds to that nicely. And I think if we carry along this way, we're going to be fine. Not every signing is going to be a fantastic barnstormer. Radu Dragusin is a case in point, but we seem to have a good way of working at the moment, and I just hope we continue down that path and just make it worthwhile.
Yeah, well, I think we all agree. For this season, hopefully Van der Ven comes back and we can. He's trained how he's got to run and whatever he has to do to make sure he doesn't get injured as much. Hopefully, we'll get something out of Romero before the end of the season, and obviously Solanke. If we can have at least two of those players fit within the next couple of weeks or so, then touch wood, we can win that Europa League, and then it will be a fantastic season.
Yeah,
can you believe?
On young players, I just want to say I want to see a bit more of Dane Scarlett, because I have a sneaking feeling he might come through.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't come on.
It's funny, isn't it?
When Tell came off, I was surprised he didn't come on, because he's done well for us in the past, to a point, not top level, but he's looked reasonable.
He's also a natural finisher. When you see him playing, when he scores goals, he looks like he expects to score goals, and that's one thing that you need with a striker. I think he might turn out to be very good.
He again is one of those players that have gone on loan elsewhere, and he hasn't really done that brilliantly. So maybe he's going to follow the footsteps of Harry Kane, and suddenly gets a place in the Tottenham team, and suddenly shows his true worth.
Maybe he'll end up sponsoring Oxford United shorts or something like Harry did.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so
it's funny.
Go on, John.
No, it's funny in a way that he suddenly got thrust back into the Tottenham team, and we all thought one has gone off, and Scarlett trying to get some game time now, isn't he?
Yeah. All right. Well, I think now's probably a good time to end it, because we're starting to lose John again. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Mike. Hopefully you've got all the way through here. If you are a new listener or you're a semi-regular listener, please hit that like button, give us a subscribe, and we'll be back in your ears very soon. Not for a little while, though, because we're going to have a bit of a break. We're not going to be coming back after the first AZ game, the AZ Alkmaar game. We will be back on Monday, the 10th of March, after the Bournemouth match. And hopefully we'll be looking forward with some positivity and just some continuing enjoyment in the world of Tottenham Hotspur. But until then, thank you, everybody, and come on, you Spurs.
Stuart, thanks for hosting.
Come on, you Spurs.